Welcome back to the Fun House, better known as
Yes.
ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. That guy who's chuckling because I made him laugh is Jarvis. But that's what we're here to do, make you guys
Yeah.
laugh and just have fun because you know what? That's what sports is supposed to be about with all the cray going on in the world. We hope that you guys are getting a little entertainment and enjoyment from the sports that we bring you every single day, whether you're checking us out on YouTube and subscribing like you have, getting us almost to 2,000 subscribers, liking us and
Woo.
following us. We appreciate you. But also, if you are listening to us on wherever you get your podcast, we appreciate you for going to those platforms and also giving us a 5-star review when we bring you all the noise, just like we think that Kyle Pitts is going to do this year. So, everyone has talked about, even we talked about it, Jarvis, even after open practice on Friday, right? The fact that Kyle Pitts, he's hitting a little different. And when I
Yeah.
talked to him a couple months ago, I actually caught up with him at a couple Hawks games and talked to him. I could tell, the swag was different. There's a little bit more that, hey, I got my rookie year under my belt, right? And
Hmm.
so he started talking about that Friday, the maturity on and off the field compared to where he was last season, how confident he feels coming in, even after a solid year like he had. But really, truly, and when you look at it, I looked at the stats, not bad. When you think about him getting 68 receptions, 1,000-yard receiving season, just what he was able to do, 15.1 yards per touch. That's pretty darn
Almost
impressive.
two first downs. Yeah, that's not bad at
Exactly.
all.
Oh, exactly. Essentially, he can get you a first down and halfway to another one whenever he touches the ball, which is amazing. But as amazing as Kyle Pitts was last year, he could be amazing this year, but maybe in a different way because the Falcons decided to go back out in the draft and get themselves more help in that wide receiver tight end room, if you will, the pass catchers. And that was with Drake London.
Mhm.
So that'll probably give an opportunity to Kyle, maybe Jarvis, not to get more touches per se as far as receptions, but maybe more touchdowns because now you have a legitimate other threat out there that either Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ritter will be throwing to. And now defenses are going to have to scheme for more than just one guy. So, depending on what your thoughts are, quantity and quality, touchdowns versus receptions, if you will, moving the change, Jarvis, could it be that even if Kyle Pitts' reception yard numbers go down, that his production and truly the quality of the production goes up?
I think it's almost guaranteed to go up. Here's why.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you brought it. You kind of touched on it just a little when you talk about defensive schemes and what to an extra piece to think about, right? An extra
Mm-hmm.
thing to kind of game plan for, and that's the legs of Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ritter. Either whoever's in that, who's ever up under the quarterback position, like you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to be concerned about, the RPOs and
Yeah,
that type of offense being implemented into it, right? Because you
right.
have the Cordero Patterson piece, right? He got a nice little arm. He can sit back there and throw that guy, and moving Kyle Pitts around when you have, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have guys like Drake London who's familiar with the running in the slot. I know for a
Yep.
fact that I haven't been sitting in the bathroom when Arthur Smith is coming up with these plays and drawing up all these plays, but I know for a fact that we're gonna see Drake London in the slot on one
Yes.
side, and you're
Yes.
gonna see Kyle Pitts lined up in the slot on the other side, and then you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have Cordell Patterson lined up next to Marcus Mariota in the gun, and they're gonna be running RPO, and you're gonna have to
Yes.
figure it out, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why you got those big boy wide receivers because
Yes.
slash tight ends or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
You want to get
Right.
technical.
I say the
big boy,
same.
big boy wide receivers
Big
right
boy,
there.
exactly.
In
Big
that, in
body.
that, it's going. Those windows aren't going to be as tight as they normally are
Mm-hmm.
because those guys' catch radius is amazing. I'll never forget when Kyle Pitts came in. All the hype coming in. I wasn't really a big fan of the pick initially,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can just when I went out there for rookie mini camp last year, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just sitting there and I was just
Woo.
watching. And I was just like, oh my God, like. Matt just threw the ball up and he just went and got it.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
nothing. Richie Grant, because Richie Grant was Gardner, it was nothing he could do.
Yeah.
The dude is 6'6", 245. Like, what can you do with that? Because if there's even looks like it's single coverage,
Mm-hmm.
like Matt would just throw the ball up and he'll just go get it. And I
Yeah.
think that is going to be he's going to be a weapon to be reckoned with because I think there were some times where I think Arthur Smith really couldn't do what he wanted to do in the red zone because,
Hmm.
like you said,
Yeah.
when you have
Yeah.
that extra piece, that extra element that you have to think about, Marcus
Hmm.
Mariota's legs or Desmond Ritter, whoever's at the quarterback position. I think that's why they brought him in because those guys are similar in play styles, right? So you
Yes.
kind of those guys can be interchangeable at some point this season. But
Hmm.
so that's the piece that I think that is going to allow Kyle Pitts to be more of a weapon this year in the red zone to
Yeah.
get catch the ball in the end zone because a guy like that with only one touchdown, yeah, of course a lot of people are gonna have a lot of questions to ask.
Exactly. And when you think about the fact, and you and I have been talking about that piece because the red zone, it improved a bit. I mean, the Falcons were still 24th in the league in red zone
Right,
efficiency at 50, just under 54%. So, still a challenge. Yeah, a little bit better than the year before, but not by much. But
right.
when you think about weapons, and you all, and we haven't even. The funny thing is, we haven't even gotten into a conversation about. Well, this is Olamide Zaccheaus' second year in Arthur Smith's regime. So you
Right.
never know how he and Dave Ragone might figure out how to maybe use OZ a little bit better and a little bit
Mm-hmm.
differently. Also, Brian Edwards, we don't talk a lot about him and how that might impact the play calling in terms of the passing game, right? And the reason
Right.
I bring that out is because the more weapons you have, the more creative you can get with your
Mm-hmm.
offensive scheme. And the more creative you can get, the more, to me, that sounds like that's going to pay dividends for Kyle Pitts and this offense, especially in that red zone. Because again, like you said, even if whether that's Mariota or whether that's Ritter, but I'm thinking about Ritter in particular and how Kyle Pitts said, when I asked him about Desmond Ritter and what his thoughts were on him in particular from the rookie class, got a little smile on him and said, "Oh, he throws a nice ball."
Yeah. And the
so,
one, yeah. And you know what? Football players are so good at this, right? They're so good at putting stuff out there without making them
right.
seem that they're as excited as they were, right?
Yes,
Or they really are. They make it seem like,
exactly.
oh yeah, he throws a nice ball. But you can,
Yeah.
if you were there, like you were, and I was sitting there watching too when he said, it, I was just
Yep.
like,
Hmm.
bro, you like that a little bit more than what you
Then what
leaned
you're
on.
letting on, right? Yeah, I
Oh, he
think
got
we
a nice
all
ball.
saw a
Yeah.
little something there in person that we can't. There's no way for us to explain it to you. It was one of those where you had to be there. But hey, that's why you got Jarvis and I on ATL Day Ones to tell you about these little nuances that we see that maybe we'll see in the regular season, or kind of tips our hand or gives us a little peek right into
Right.
what we might see in the regular season. So I definitely like that piece. But you also mentioned something as well in terms of having a CP and where you line him up, and how even having that piece is going to be something that gives a little bit more versatility and flexibility. Because listen, the more you stack, and how
Mm-hmm.
often have we said it, because we also heard it from Arthur Smith, the more you stack that room and have competition, the more that makes everybody up their game. So yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a prime opportunity for Kyle Pitts, whose numbers may go down a little bit in terms of receptions, because you got a ball that you can actually spread around now, right?
Right.
And you can be
Exactly.
a little bit more flexible and creative in the way that you set up this offense. But we believe, just as you said, that it's going to pay dividends in the area where it matters most, which is the red zone. And you want that to pay dividends early, because how many times, Jarvis, definitely in the seasons gone by, but even last season, how many times did we say, as we're looking at, play by play, we're looking at the box score and we're saying, oh, wow, we got a nice, a nice package, if you will, or a nice mix of run
Mm-hmm.
pass on this
Right.
particular drive. We might have 7 passes and we might have 7 runs. And then all of a sudden it gets down to crunch time and we're in that red zone and we're wondering what's going to happen.
Yep.
And then Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone are essentially forced to do one of two things. Either they're in some third and short situation where maybe they don't have anybody that they trust,
Yep.
and that ball ends up going somewhere or being thrown to somebody, because God forbid it wouldn't be run a lot, let's be honest. But it ends up being thrown somewhere where we're like, no, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. But because defenses could scheme against Kyle Pitts and keep him away from the red zone, they were like, beat me with everybody else. We dare you to get in the end zone with anybody else. And oftentimes the Falcons couldn't, which of course then led us to having to tweet out Young Wei Koo
Yeah.
for the makes
Again,
the
for a
17,
three-piece
27-yard
snack.
field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the conversation we don't want to have more often than not this season.
no doubt. But one thing it has done, it's definitely got young way coupe. Young got
I
a
know.
nice little check. He was like,
Yeah.
yeah, y'all keep failing in the red zone.
One
Let me get
guy who
this
was
money.
never mad when the red zone situation did not work out and did not land 6 points was the guy who almost always landed them 3 points, right? So no, that
Right.
guy was never mad. But you know what? There's a guy that I don't know if he was mad, but half of Twitter definitely was mad last night about it. And that's one guy who hit the long ball like he was supposed to. So why couldn't he just do what he wanted to do after that? There's also a team that wants to know, can they hit the gritty one more time? Because that's what they want to do when they get dubs. And of course, an icon, we want to celebrate him today on his special day, on his born day. So if you want to know about all three of those, come back on the other side. It's for the culture right here on ATL Day Ones. We'll see you in a minute.